Hello everyone, I'm Fozzie or Cam, and I'm here as always with my co-host Will. How you doing today, Will?
I'm doing about as well as I can after my team, the Golden State Warriors, blew yeah, that's right, 24-point lead against the Sacramento Kings last night, blowing their chance to
Yeah.
advance in the NBA in-season tournament and giving me legitimate scary vibes of their team from a few seasons ago. Not their championship team, but the team they had the season before that in 2021. Steph Curry playing at an MVP level, but no reliable scoring, no legitimate second option behind him. I am getting deja vu of that team with this team that they have right now as Klay Thompson and Andrew Wiggins, although both did play well last night, overall this season, neither of them have provided Steph Curry any other reliable scorers or a legitimate second option. So I am getting scary Warriors 2021 play-in tournament exit season vibes. So to summarize all of that up and getting back to your original question, Cam, I would say I'm doing about as well as I could after the Warriors decided to blow a 24-point lead last night.
Yeah, I mean, my Celtics are doing good, so I'm happy, but
As
it
you should be.
it is unfortunate that the Warriors aren't doing great in this in-season tournament. But it's not like this is the NBA Finals we're talking about.
True.
There's still time left in the season, and they can gather themselves. Still early. Um, but yeah, welcome to the Everything Podcast. We have a lot to talk about today. A lot of really cool topics. We're gonna start off with the Karate Kid movie that
Oh,
not
wow.
announced, got. Oh my goodness, that was so exciting. Jackie Chan and what's going on here? Why am I blanking on the
Ralph,
name? Ralph. Wow! I cannot believe I just forgot Ralph Macchio's name. What is going on? Oh my goodness. But yeah, I saw that video and I was extremely excited. I may or may not have even sent in an audition, with not a single shred of hope in my mind that I'd ever get the role. But at least I can say I auditioned to be the next Karate Kid, which I did. And I haven't gotten an email back, and I don't think I will. um, but yeah, the whole thing was really cool, and I'm glad that we're just gonna have the both those characters together in the same universe, and it's just thrilling. Um, but this also has me wondering what they're going to do with the Cobra Kai characters, which I'm sure we'll see in Cobra Kai season 6. uh, which will be fantastic, and I'm sure it's going to end on a cliffhanger that leads up to the movie, which will be fantastic. And there's just a lot of unanswered questions that we have, like Kreese. Is he going to be the villain of the movie? Probably not, because he's probably going to his run as a Karate Kid villain is probably going to end after Cobra Kai season 6, but we'll see. But yeah, overall, I am super psyched for this film. I mean, two tremendous actors. I mean, it's great. What are your thoughts, Will?
I have so many thoughts. I don't even know where to begin. I mean, you want to just talk about a bombshell piece of news? I mean, wow. So I want to start here. So the Miyagiverse, that term was coined for the original Karate Kid trilogy with Ralph Macchio and Pat Morita, the obviously Cobra Kai, and they included the next the and they included the film The Next Karate Kid with Hilary Swank and Pat Morita because Pat and the character of Mr. Miyagi is in that movie. But the 2010 Karate Kid movie, that was thought of as a reboot. That was not thought of as a part of the so-called Miyagi verse.
Yeah.
So, first of all, hearing this piece of news, I just said, whoa, this changes everything. This is a part of the Miyagi verse now. We can think of this as canon, which we were never able to think of it as before. I have actually not seen the 2010 Karate Kid movie. I was
Neither
not
have I.
planning on I was not planning
Same.
on seeing it, but now I'm going to have to see it after this piece of news. So just right off the bat, I just want to say that it just blew my mind that a movie that was considered a reboot and not canon has now entered the Miyagi-verse and is officially canon and a part of this world that has been created. So right off the bat, that was just a huge takeaway for me. Another takeaway. Oh boy, when I first heard that Sony was doing another Karate Kid movie, Cam, I was scared. I was
Yeah.
just scared. Ralph Macchio came out and said he didn't know anything about it. The Cobra Kai creators came out and said that they didn't know anything about
That's
it.
what I'm
In my
thinking.
mind, I just said, "Oh no, are they gonna do some like third reboot? Are they gonna screw this up? Are they gonna do something stupid?" I was so scared, and I just want to give Sony a round of applause.
Yep.
Sony, I am proud of you. Thank you for not screwing it up, because this is a fantastic idea, in my opinion. I mean, absolutely fantastic. I just love it. I love everything about it. And allow me to say this. I am so happy for Ralph Macchio as an actor. This is a guy who got typecast as a character, rose to fame in the 80s, but got typecast as that character, and let's be honest, basically became a nobody until Cobra Kai came out. And if someone would have told him, say in the year like 2000 per se, if someone can you imagine what Ralph Macchio would have said if someone would have told him 20 something years from now, you're going to be starring in another Karate Kid film with Jackie Chan, who would have starred in a film that would have been a reboot of the original Karate Kid movie, and you're going to get to do the press tour and all of the interviews and all of that again. I bet he would have told you were crazy. So I am just so happy for Ralph Macchio as an actor, because he is such a great guy. I know this up close and personal. I took a photo with him and he told me nice to see you, like he knew me, like I was a friend of of his. He is such a good guy. Actually, let me correct myself, such a great guy. And I am just so happy for him that he gets a chance to do another Karate Kid movie and be in the spotlight like this and potentially experience superstardom again.
Yeah.
I am so happy for him because he is a great guy, and if anyone deserves it, it is him. So I have more thoughts that I could say, but I would love to hear some more thoughts of yours, Cam. So I'm gonna throw it back to you.
Yeah, I am so just excited for this movie. And like you, I heard this was announced, and I heard people say it looks like it's gonna be a reboot. Looks like Ralph doesn't know anything about it, and I was like, oh, okay, I'll definitely watch it. But what's the angle here? We have all these Cobra Kai characters. We have this whole Miyagi verse that we can use, and we're rebooting it. That's interesting, but I'll stick with it. And then we get that video. Oh my goodness! Oh, I was so happy. Oh my goodness. It was just a sigh of relief. And like I said, the main thing I'm looking forward or I'm anticipating the most to is to see what's going to happen with the Cobra Kai characters and how they're going to be incorporated into this new Karate Kid movie. And if they're going to be incorporated into it at all. Like, is William Zabka going to be in it? We'll see. Um, but yeah, my excitement is really growing right now, and I will obviously have to wait till the trailers come out to really get pumped for this movie. But for now, I am excited for the new Karate Kid movie. I'm excited that we're gonna get a new Karate Kid, which probably won't end up being me, unfortunately. Um, but yeah, that'll be super interesting. And yeah, overall, really, really excited for the new Karate Kid. But next on our agenda here is something we've had quite a bit, a kind of a history about talking about on this podcast, and it's been one of the key points. It's been one of our most legendary discussions on the podcast, and that is the Star Wars sequels. So we're both huge Star Wars fans. I mean, I can find the good things and even the worst of Star Wars movies. Even like, well, except for I'm not going to talk about the sequels for a sec. The only Star Wars movies I really don't like in the original 6 movies are Phantom Menace, because it's kind of boring, and Attack of the Clones isn't a good movie, but there's still things you can find and enjoy in it, you know. And Revenge of the Sith I really enjoy. Also the spin-offs, Rogue One, Solo, I really love. Um, and for the original trilogy, I'm not huge on Return of the Jedi. I still like it, but it's not one of my favorite Star Wars movies. But now when we're talking about the sequels, oh my goodness, wow. So, Force Awakens, I have maintained my opinion on this movie, and I will continue to maintain my thoughts on this movie. It is a good movie. It is a good Star Wars movie. I don't care if it's kind of retreading what they've done in the past, like with A New Hope and Return of the Jedi. I don't care. It's a good formula. It works well. It's a great movie. It's well directed. The action scenes are fantastic. The characters are great. Rey is a fantastic character in that movie, and Finn is a awesome character in that movie. In that one movie, Finn is a fantastic character, and I will kind of in Last Jedi, but I'll get to that in a sec. But yeah, I loved how menacing Snoke was, and we didn't know much about him. Kylo Ren was fantastic. Oh, it was great. Han's death. Oh, it was fantastic. And then I loved it. It's one of my favorite Star Wars movies. And then we got Last Jedi. Now, my thoughts on Last Jedi have always been it's awful, ruined Star Wars, but wait. I've changed my opinion on The Last Jedi.
Wow. Wow. I am amazed. I am amazed. Wow.
So I've been reading some things people are saying, and I'm like, yeah. And then I rewatch it, and I'm like, yeah. Here's the thing. Rian Johnson, he directed this movie, not J.J. Abrams, and he did a lot of unique things, you know. He did a lot of really interesting things, like what he did with Luke. He killed off Snoke. I mean, that was a bold move. He had an awesome character in Rose. He that casino thing was still weird, but at least maybe it could be built upon in the follow-up movie to Last Jedi, but it wasn't. Um, yeah, it set up Finn and Rose to be good characters. I like how Holdo. I used to hate Holdo. Now Holdo is a legendary character in my opinion. The Holdo maneuver will forever go down in history as one of the coolest things in Star Wars history. Um, I think the relationship between Leia and Kylo Ren is really interesting in that movie. I think Rey is also fantastic in that movie, but he tried to do a lot of unique things, and we saw the ending with the kid with the Force and the broom. You know, he tried to add some new things. He killed off Luke Skywalker, and then the real worst Star Wars movie of all time came out: The
Okay.
Rise of Skywalker.
You hate it. You hate it.
I hate it even more than I did before.
Wow.
Because I now respect Rian
Okay.
Johnson for trying something new, and some people
Right.
didn't like it, and some people liked it. I was mixed on some things, and I liked some other things, like what they. I now upon rewatching it, I didn't love Luke in the beginning of the movie, but he completely redeemed himself, and I guess
Yeah.
that just didn't register with me. Completely redeemed himself, by the end of the movie. So I go into Rise of Skywalker. They just remember Rose? Rose, a really prominent
That's true.
character,
Yeah. I hear you on that. I do.
like 2 lines of dialogue. That
Yeah.
is
I
so
I yeah, I hear you. Yeah.
disrespectful.
That was
Oh
that
my
was that was
goodness.
that was a weird move on their on their part. If there's one thing you say that I can't refute, it is that it was a weird move on
Yeah.
their part to set her up as such a big character in The Last Jedi, but then completely make her go away in The Rise of Skywalker. It really makes you question, you know, if they should have even done, the stuff they did with her in The Last Jedi. So I do agree with you that it was weird to, set her up as this big character in The Last Jedi and then completely take her away in The Rise of Skywalker. That was a weird move on their part
Yeah,
for sure.
it definitely was. And I know that character got a lot of hate probably because she was Asian, which is ridiculous. And
Ridiculous.
Disney being the multi-billion-dollar company they are, should have said, I couldn't care less. I'm a multi-billion-dollar company. You can stay in the movie. What? But they got bullied by a few annoying because we can acknowledge that the Star Wars fandom can be incredibly annoying at
Oh yeah.
times,
Oh yeah.
and they just got they just surrendered to the Star Wars fandom when they're this multi-billion-dollar company and said, I'm sorry guys, I'll take her out of the movie," and that's just ridiculous. And then oh yeah, remember what's his name, Finn? Remember when he was a character? Yeah, he's not really anything in Rise of Skywalker. He's just there to
Yeah.
shout Rey's name,
That's a fair point, I guess. Yeah.
and that those are two really compelling characters
Right.
that were just completely ignored and disrespected. I mean, it's
I mean,
ridiculous.
Finn got Finn got still like a solid amount of screen time in that film though,
It wasn't
whereas
really
Rose,
anything like Force Awakens when he
like
had a real story arc. He
like
didn't have a story. He was just following
right.
Rey.
Yeah. Now, yeah, so basically what you're saying is that like Finn in The Rise of Skywalker, he was there, but he didn't have a story arc. Like
Yeah,
he didn't contribute to the story in any way. They didn't like move his character forward.
correct. Yeah, I mean, I just thought it was ridiculous and super disrespectful to John Boyega. And I also watched a recent John Boyega movie called They Clone Tyrone. It was fantastic. He is such a good actor. It was like a sci-fi. It's kind of like The Matrix. Jamie Foxx was in it. It was phenomenal. It's on Netflix, Will. I'd really recommend it. It
Oh,
was
cool.
funny. It was fantastic. I really liked it. Um, but yeah, he's a fantastic actor, and they just kind of wasted him. Um, oh yeah, remember when Rian Johnson did that really cool thing and said, Rey's not connected to anyone. She's her own person. She doesn't need to be connected to someone else. She
Uh-huh.
doesn't need to be a Kenobi. She doesn't need to be anything. She doesn't need to be a Palpatine. She's her own thing. She comes from nothing. She has her parents. They were anything, you know. They were just regular parents, and it's her. It's her. She's not from anyone, but nah, she's a Palpatine. What? Come on. That's ridiculous and once again disrespectful to the character of Rey, who had this unique story arc of being her own person, and then kind of just got that whole thing got pulled down. I guess she's a Palpatine now. Cool. And speaking of Palpatine, I know you probably saw this criticism coming, well, but come on. Somehow, Palpatine's returned. Come on! That is ridiculous. Remember when Rian Johnson killed off Snoke, so maybe he could direct the sequel and make Kylo Ren the main villain, make him menacing. But no, they had to redeem him and bring back Palpatine. That doesn't even make sense. It does. It Be honest, it doesn't even make any sense. And what Snoke was him? That's so stupid. And also, yeah, he can force communicate with Kylo Ren now. That's weird. Um, I just thought it was kind of weird how it turned into kind of how all the characters were bouncing off each other so naturally, like they've known each other for years. But I mean, they have, but we haven't seen that as an audience. Rey was separated from them for most of The Last Jedi, and we never got to see him form a relationship, build a bond, and Finn wasn't with them either. Finn was with Rose, who maybe if they included into this movie would have made it better. Um, but they weren't together. Now they're just all together and like best friends, and they're like quipping at each other, making witty jokes at each other. Where did that come from? We didn't even see a
Was there a
relation.
time period that passed though between The Last Jedi and The Rise of
Yes,
Skywalker? Do
which
you
which
like do
yes,
we know that?
I believe there is, but still, we didn't see them form a bond. So that's
Fair point.
we didn't see them form the friendship that I guess they have now. They're all best buddies and making jokes with each other. I mean, it's just ridiculous. And another complaint I have here. Oh my goodness. Chewie's dead. Oh no, he's not. Ray's dead. No, he's not. Kylo Ren's dead. No, he's not. Yes, he is. It's just ridiculous. There's so many fake out deaths, and it makes the real deaths mean nothing. I think it's stupid. I
So, do
think
you really feel like Leia's death meant nothing in that film?
I think it takes away the impacts of the death significantly.
Oh, okay.
And I also I this is a hard complaint because obviously Carrie Fisher passed away in 2016. The scenes Leia wasn't really even a character. She was just kind of saying generic lines, and she was good. What they did good with what they had, and I get it. It's a tough criticism, but you have to acknowledge it's weird. It just feels out of place, and this could just be me, but I don't know. It feels weird. She's just saying kind of generic lines. It's not really intertwined with the story. But that could just be me. Like I said, I just found it distracting, and the weight of the character's deaths just diminished, especially with Kylo Ren, who could have been set up to be such a great villain and not have Palpatine. But nope, he dies. He gets stabbed by Rey. Oh, but he comes back. He saves Rey, and then Rey dies. Oh my god, I forgot Rey dies, and then Kylo Ren brings her back to life, and then he dies. What's even the point of dying in Star Wars movies anymore? Oh, and Han dies. Han dies in Force Awakens, and then they bring him back, which I mean, I was
I thought they
that.
were implying that um that Leia found a way to bring him back through the Force or something. Is I think what they what they were
I mean,
implying there.
yeah,
I think they thought the fans would be excited to see him back. That's what
yeah.
I think they thought. I thought they thought the fans would be excited.
The inner Star Wars fan in me is just always excited to see Harrison Ford in anything, but the real film critic in me is like, that's he's dead. What are we doing here? Come on, we got be more creative. Come on. That we've been creative. If you want someone who's actually creative, bring Rian Johnson back. And I'm not hating on J.J. Abrams. I love J.J. Abrams. I think he's a really impressive director, especially in Mission Impossible 3. And Force Awakens is fantastic. He definitely has his own unique style, which I appreciate in any director. I did a whole school presentation on why it's important to have your own style as a director, and Wes Anderson's my favorite director, so I appreciate that. But this movie doesn't even feel like it was directed by J.J. Abrams. It feels like Disney directed it. It doesn't have that same grit that Force Awakens has. And overall, I thought it was just a letdown and
A letdown.
one of the worst, one of, if not the worst Star Wars movie I've ever seen.
Regarding the whole Palpatine thing, I have heard some talk about they've been introducing cloning in these Disney Plus shows, and I've heard there be, some talk about how like that being, part of their way for going back and redeeming the sequel trilogy and explaining things that maybe didn't make sense. So I do want to throw that out there as a possible reason for the explanation of how Palpatine returned. But ultimately, here's what I think Disney and Star Wars probably thought. I think there is a nostalgia factor, and I think they were trying to pay homage um to the original trilogy in these sequel trilogy films. And I think they probably thought that by bringing Palpatine back, Star Wars fans would be super excited because this is a chance to see a character from the original trilogy and from their childhood again. And obviously, it ticked Star Wars fans off. But I think they thought they would be excited because it would give them a chance to see
But they
someone from
weren't.
their
But
childhood
just
again.
because they
Okay, but
thought.
okay, but just because they weren't doesn't mean that they weren't justified to think that they might be excited. I still understand the reason that they did it.
Just because they tried doesn't mean it was a good thing. No one liked it. No one liked it. I mean, maybe you did. I didn't. I know a lot of other people didn't like it either, and I know a few people did. But maybe they tried, and maybe they thought that it would be a good idea, but it ended up not being a good idea. So there's no defense to that. There's nothing you can defend it with. They maybe they thought it would be a good idea, and I'm sure they did. I'm sure they thought he would get nostalgia from their childhood, but they didn't.
I'm just saying
They thought it was stupid.
I can understand why they would think that. That's all I'm saying.
I guess I can understand why they would think that as well, but it just didn't work out in their favor. And I mean, maybe they'll fix it with the upcoming movies the upcoming 3 movies that they have, or in the TV shows. But we'll see. But that was a fantastic Star Wars discussion. I really enjoy discussing Star Wars. So now we have some other big news to talk about here, Will. um, Creed 4 has been announced. Directed by Michael B. Jordan. And probably not going to have Sly Stallone. What are your thoughts?
Erwin Winkler, you disgust me. Disgust me. You're up here at some event. I don't know what event you're up at, but oh yeah, we're developing Creed 4 and we really like what we have. We think we've got just a really good story and a really good plot. You Sylvester Stallone created this franchise and this character. We would not have this franchise without him. Now, you could make the argument, and this is what I've read has happened. You know, Disney technically did this same thing, taking Star Wars out from under George Lucas's control, but at least George Lucas had sold
Yeah.
Lucasfilm to Disney, and at least you could say that George Lucas's recent installments in the Star Wars universe in the prequel trilogy were not the strongest, and maybe it was time to have some other people come in and offer their own
Yeah.
fresh takes on the Star Wars universe. In this case, Creed 1 and Creed 2, I thought those films were fantastic. Fantastic. Sylvester Stallone was one of the writers on Creed 2. You would not have any Creed movies without Sylvester Stallone. And for Erwin Winkler to come out here and just completely take the control of the franchise out from under Sylvester Stallone, who we would not have had this franchise without, and then you make Creed 3 basically Ghost Rocky from existence, act like he doesn't exist, and now you're coming out here and oh yeah, we're gonna do Creed 4, and we really like what we got, and we think we got just a really good story and a really good plot. Erwin Winkler, you disgust me.
Yeah.
Disgust.
I mean, like you said, Sylvester Stallone created these characters, and to just completely take that away from him and not. I mean, he's not even in his own franchise anymore. But there's no reason for that. I mean, there's no. We don't know where he is. We don't know where Rocky is. I was able to look past it with Creed 3, and I know some other people weren't able to even acknowledge Creed 3 as a film that exists. Not to name names. Like, but yeah, I personally enjoyed Creed 3, but I can see, I definitely felt it was lacking Rocky. But I was able to look forward, and I was like, maybe they'll do another one, maybe they'll bring him back, one last ride, we'll see. good standalone movie, like what they did. But Jonathan Majors was fantastic. But now we're going on with the fourth one, and Sly is still not in it, or confirmed to be in it yet. I mean, it's still early in development, but that is saying something. I mean, I just am disappointed thoroughly, especially with Erwin Winkler. Just give it up. The whole Rocky fan base hates you. Come on. That it's time for you to give it up. I mean, you worked your magic with Creed 3 and now it's over. It's over. Or, I mean, you could, I mean, it's not like he's banning Sylvester Stallone from being in the movie. Right? I mean, it's Sylvester Stallone not wanting to be in the movie. He could. I mean, I understand his reasoning. He could try to be the bigger man and be in the movie. But I see his reasoning for not wanting to be in it. I definitely see that. But if he really cares that much about the franchise and he cares that much about his fans, then he'll be the bigger man and be in the movie. But he probably won't end up doing that, you know.
I, this is not just some minor character we're
Yeah.
talking about with Rocky here. This is arguably the most beloved character in American cinema history. And to do this is just bewildering to me. We would not have any of this without Sylvester Stallone, who, in their right mind, should think that they would be allowed to take that out from under him
Yeah.
when we wouldn't have this without him. It is just bewildering to me, and I hate to say it, but I just think money grabs become things sometimes, and if I think if these people were smart, they would go ahead and either not make another Creed movie if Sylvester Stallone didn't want to be in it, or make one that thoroughly acknowledged him not being there and maybe is about the Adonis Creed character really grieving the loss of Rocky. I'm sorry, but when they're doing what they're doing and they're just like basically ghosting Rocky from existence and going on their own and taking the franchise rights out from under Sylvester Stallone, who we wouldn't have a franchise without. I'm sorry, but I have to at least accuse you a little bit of a money grab with that.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, but I just do.
for sure. I mean, it's incredibly upsetting, especially us as Rocky fans. But it's still very early in development. So, and he could get added onto the project. We'll see. But I am remaining doubtful. So next on our list of topics for today, we have some music. So we'd like to do this every so often, just talk about artists we're listening to. Will, would you like to go first?
Sure. And usually I would spend this segment going over a list of artists that I've been listening to recently, but today I would actually like to take some time to address NBC singing competition show The Voice in its first season without the king of the show, Mr. Blake Shelton. Last season was his final season.
He has a new show though, right?
He does. It's called Barmageddon.
Yeah.
It is a silly but fun game
Yeah.
show on USA Network with Carson Daly, who is his super close friend, host of The Voice, also one of the hosts of the Today Show on NBC. But Blake Shelton last season was his final season on The Voice. He wrapped it up after 23 seasons, a dominant run, won the show 9 times, was the undisputed king of The Voice. And this season, their first season without him. Now, the person that they had they had Reba McIntyre fill his seat. And that I give The Voice massive credit for. Because if there's one person who is justified for sitting in his seat, it is her. She is a country music legend. She is beloved. People love her. So I thought they did an excellent job bringing her back. I love that they brought back I love that John Legend and Gwen Stefani are here this season because they are core
Yeah.
coaches of the show. So to have them back is fantastic. To have Carson Daly still hosting the show is fantastic. But I'm sorry, but this is where we have gotten to with The Voice, in my opinion. I think with this show, we have gotten to a point where it can be very good, but it will still never be the same. Blake Shelton was a comedian. I believe the fact that that is not listed as one of his job titles is a disgrace at this point. This guy is hilarious. And what I found brilliant about what he was able to do, he played the villain role all the time. He created this Blake versus the world thing, and yet he was so endearing and so hilarious that there was no way for you not to love him,
Yeah.
even though he played the villain role. So Niall Horan on the show this season, he takes on the villain role,
Was
but
he?
yeah,
Was
he
he in
was with,
One
yeah,
Direction? Yeah.
he was, yeah, and now he has a solo
Okay.
career. He had an album come out this year, but when he took on the villain role this season, it just wasn't the same. You disliked him when he took on the villain role because he wasn't able to crack jokes and say things that made you love him, even though he was playing the villain role. That is what Blake Shelton pulled off, and I don't think any coach will ever be able to pull it off again. And the thing with Blake Shelton, when you turned on the show, you felt like you were spending time with a you felt like you were spending time with a friend when you turned
Yeah.
on the show and you watched him. That is just the guy that he was. And my dad and I have a thing where we're now thinking of what where we're now thinking of the of Blake Shelton's 23 season run on The Voice as the Blake Shelton show, and this is The Voice. This is a spinoff show because let's just call it like it is. Blake Shelton was the king of The Voice. That was
Yeah.
his show, and he was the star of it. This is a spinoff. They are starting new and starting fresh. So just to summarize all of this up, I'm surprised how much I've gotten into The Voice this season without Blake. I think they are doing well, but we've gotten to a point where even if the show is very good, it still will never be the same because Blake Sheltons do not come about every day, and
Yeah.
we have to appreciate them while they're here, and you appreciate them even more once they're gone. And boy, have I been experiencing that this season.
Yeah. So you're a fan of country, right? You like Blake Shelton.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
So I've never been a huge fan of country, and recently I've started to get into Zach Bryan.
Oh, cool.
Have you ever listened to any of his music?
Um, I'm sure. Not really, but I'm sure if you, I'm sure if I heard some of his hit songs, then I would know what
Yeah.
they are.
I highly recommend you check out um, Zach Bryan. He has a
Oh,
song,
cool.
I mean, specifically the song Overtime. It is fantastic. Like I said, I've never been a real country fan. And his music isn't fully country. I feel like it's less country than I wouldn't even. It's kind of rock, pop, country. I mean, you can't really classify it as one genre. But I guess the general genre is country. But I never really been into country. But am a huge fan of Zach Bryan now. His most recent album, self-titled album, and this point in his career, which is wild. It was fantastic. It was great. It's probably my favorite album of his so far. I was just so happy with it. I mean, it's great. Yeah, I highly recommend you check out Zach Bryan for all our listeners. Yeah, because I've been really into him as of late. Also, I know another country singer. I personally don't listen to him, and I don't like his music really that much at all. But Morgan Wallen, do you
Okay.
listen to any of his music? I don't really. I don't listen to him.
I haven't, but I may have to check him out.
I know I don't love him. I don't think he's that good at all. but I know he's like super popular right now in the
Uh-huh.
country scene.
Yeah.
So I was just because you're more into country than I am. If you were a
Right.
fan of his, um, but yeah, one Blake Shelton song I do enjoy is "God's Country."
Oh yeah. I
Epic,
love that song. Yeah.
epic.
So great.
Um, yeah. Also today, Spotify Wrapped came out. Um, you can view that on your phone on the Spotify app or
Yeah.
on the website, and it's an event. Will I mean? But for those of you who don't know, Spotify Wrapped is an annual thing Spotify does where it breaks down your favorite artists, talks about their your top five most listened to songs and your top five most played artists on Spotify. And it also, let's see what else. I'll go through mine real quick. I'll go through a little bit of mine, but it's really it's really interesting. I feel like because it's a lot of fun to see what you've listened to. It shows how long you've listened to something. It shows
Wow,
the amount
that's
of hours you
really
listen to
cool.
music. It's super cool. Um, like I played 1,703 songs on Spotify in 2023. Um, my most played artist was Tyler the Creator, and it gives you a playlist with your top 100 most played songs. It says how many artists you listen to. I listen to 758 artists. It gives you um, it gives you a list of your most listened to artists, like I said, and it also talks about like it gives you a category to put in, and it describes you as a music listener, which I know sounds weird, but it makes sense in a second. I'll read mine when it comes up here. But it basically describes you as a music listener, like how mine is hang on, it's loading. Mine is it's described as hypnotist. Your concentration is absolute. You like to play albums all the way through, from the opening track to the final note. And everyone's is different, although a few of my friends got the same exact thing as me. But I think Spotify Wrapped is super interesting, and it's just a lot of fun to look at. So yeah, feel free to share your Spotify Wrapped with us. Yeah, it's a super entertaining thing just to look at what you've listened to, and what month you've listened to which artist in the most. Um, but yeah, it's a super fun thing, and
That's awesome.
yeah. Sorry for that rambling session about Spotify Wraps, but yeah, that about wraps up this episode of the Everything Podcast. Thank you guys so much for watching, and Will, thank you for joining me as always. All right, so also one more thing. I was thinking, we've said this before, but I'm gonna start posting more shorts. I'm gonna
Oh
record a
yeah.
few, but yeah. So thank you guys so much for watching, and yeah, see you next time.